true believers. I am Jason Burgos for SureDog.com, and I am joined tonight by a talented fighter who has designs on winning his third straight fight in the UFC, while also playing spoiler against hometown favorite Lyman Good when the pair face off on November 2nd in the world-famous Madison Square Garden. And that man is the Black Eagle himself, Chance Recountre. Chance, thanks for giving me some time tonight, just over a week away from your next appearance in the Octagon.
No problem, man. Thanks for the Skype and thanks for the exposure, man. I always appreciate these.
Now, at 22 years old, Naurdiev, your last opponent a few months back, was a pretty huge favorite over you going into the fight because we'll get into the specifics of the win itself. But I want to talk about that. After being in the sport for 8 years, including, your amateur career, having been successful and won in the UFC, were you at all a bit offended by that? And was it any added motivation? Because if he is a favorite, then so be it, whatever. But to be like a minus 550 favorite, I'm offended for you.
I didn't even pay attention to it. I didn't even see I knew I was the underdog. A couple people brought that up, but I didn't know I was that much of an underdog.
Yeah.
That might have played a little bit into it, but I really don't pay attention to anything like that. I mean, it's a fight at the end of the day. Anything can happen, and it prevailed, and I won, and that's all that matters at the end of the day, for sure.
Now let's talk about you prevailing. Obviously, using your skilled grappling was the game plan. Explain to me like the technical aspects of going for that takedown at the right time, because he was throwing a lot at you on the feet and the standing and the striking, and landed what seemed to be a few good shots before you got that first takedown in the first round. For a good striker like him, who works with an excellent striking coach like Henry Hoof, how do you go about getting that takedown without forcing it or putting yourself in danger?
It's just, man, I just work with one of the best coaches in the world, Coach Del Fuhr, and man, we set up. We have different takedowns. I'm a southpaw as well, so it's a little bit different. I'm sure he doesn't have many southpaw looks to give him, and I mean I've been sparring right-handers most of my career, so it's kind of natural. I kind of do my own thing. I kind of created my own takedown from it. I wouldn't say created, but I've got my own thing that I do comfortable. And I'm comfortable with that, and that's where I stuck to, and I was able to get that single leg and bring it up and finish the takedown.
Now, take me to the learning tree on this, because you are a fighter. I just know as a novice, as a fan, we always hear about how southpaws are effective in terms of striking, but how is also a southpaw, confusing and hard to deal with on terms of a wrestling level? Is it just simply the same kind of thing, the stance people are unfamiliar with, or are southpaws coming at different angles and stuff like that than maybe an orthodox wrestler?
To me, it's just the stance. We're both open stance. I call it open stance. So both our lead legs are right next to each other. So the distance is a lot different and it's a lot closer. So if you can close that distance, it's easier to close the distance in my eyes. It's because we're right there. That lead leg's right there. So I'm comfortable with my right leg lead too. Being left-hander wrestling, most people wrestle left leg lead. So me being left-handed, but I wrestled right leg lead. So it's kind of an advantage for me, and I was always able to wrestle that way, so I'm comfortable there, and I'm pretty ambidextrous when it comes to your southpaw orthodox. So I golf right-handed. I do a lot of things right-handed, so it's comfortable for me in that aspect, and I feel like that plays a lot to it.
As you grinding away at him with the wrestling and just working him over, can you feel like his spirit weaken at all? Is there a sense when you're working him over and time goes by and you get these takedowns? Can you feel like victory, in your clutches? Can you sense those things when you're really out wrestling someone like that?
Maybe not so much. I could feel it at that moment. My coaches could see it though. They kept yelling at me, like, "He has nothing for you. Posture up and go. Posture up and go." There was a time in that fight where I took him down. I think it was in the third, I want to say, but he's like, he cussed. He's like, "Oh, he was just discouraged at that point in time." And I could kind of feel that it was, the beginning of the end. After the first round, he came back and he was breathing a little heavy. I could see him really gasping for air. He was a real explosive kid, man. He was, it was a different kind of thing. Everything was explosive. There wasn't nothing, methodical set up. It was all high kicks, flying knees coming at me. So it was chaos from the start. So it wasn't like nothing. I got to set up, get a little bit comfortable, work my takedowns. It was just him go, I go, him go, I go. And then eventually I scored the takedown and was able to hold him down.
In the post fight from your win before this, you mentioned confidence in that fight because you had a full camp that second time around the company. You trained, started training full time. Also, now with 2 wins in the bag in the UFC and going for a third, has things progressed for you from say just confidence and showing you are a UFC level competitor to now looking to prove to be one of the best welterweights on the planet? Is there a switch now, a new level of confidence trying to go for this third straight?
I always say I'm humble and hungry. I don't try to
Okay.
look too forward into anything. I'm concentrated on this fight right now. I'm gonna try to do my best to beat Lyman, and that's all we can ask for. I'm not gonna be worried about anything in the future. As long as I go out there and perform to my best of my ability, I'll be happy with that. And of course, I want to keep moving up the rankings. I want to keep uh, progressively working up. I'm not going to sit here and say I want the champ right now. No, I want time to grow. I want time to be out here with my camp, and I want to, get better as a mixed martial artist. I know I can wrestle, but I want to, improve my striking, improve my jiu-jitsu, and that's all. It all takes time. I've only been out here for a little over a year now. I mean, literally almost a year. I think I moved out here in October, out to California, and I want to get better. And I mean, I've had 3 fights this year, so there's I've been pretty busy, and that's why I want to stay busy. And in between camps, I want to get back out here sooner. I like to stay at home a little bit too long and see my family, see
Yeah.
my daughters. So I mean, that's tough. It's hard to juggle, but I need to be out here more and better in my craft for sure. I want to get better at it, all aspects of it, and show that I'm a really, well-rounded. Yeah, I can spit it out. Well-rounded mixed martial artist.
In this year that you mentioned, do you feel like a leap in your skill set? Is it that noticeable? Like shit, I'm getting really good, man. Now that I'm doing this all the time here, I'm getting really good. Do you sense that?
Uh, Not the sense of like I'm getting really good, but the sense I've gotten a lot better. I
Okay.
can honestly I can definitely see the difference in from when I was just coming out here for my camps to where I'm living out here full time and incorporating myself into the team practices every single day and being able to better myself, just not in each craft, but strength wise. I'm not
Mm.
working a full time job, so I'm getting bigger, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting faster, and I mean, I'm at 32 years old. I mean, I'm getting up there in my years, but I still feel healthy. My body feels great. I can't complain one bit about that, and I feel like I have bounds and leaps to go still. But I do feel like I'm getting better, and I do belong in the UFC, and I can't wait to show it the second and hopefully get another win and keep this ball rolling.
Now let's talk about that fight on the second in Madison Square Garden against Lyman Good. He has been in the sport almost twice as long as you. Fought some very talented fighters. When a Lyman Good, when he was first suggested as an opponent, what were your first thoughts about that? Had you known about him for a while and saw this as like a really great opportunity to fight established guy, or not really? Maybe not so much that.
Honestly, I don't ever really worry about my opponents. Yeah,
Hmm.
if there was somebody in the top 10, top 15 or something, then I might be kind of like, oh, well, should we take this? But I honestly send it to my coaches. I
Hmm.
give the
Okay.
coach up here. I'm like, hey, what do you think? It's a good matchup, because that's the big thing with me is like I got to trust, and if I
Right.
trust and I believe in my coaches and my team and what they are telling me, then man, I'm really hard to deal with. I'm a real confident person, and it's a scary thing for my opponents. And that's what I did. I asked Coach E. I was like, he thought I already accepted it. He goes, man, that's a good matchup. Let's take it. And I was like, all right, great. Then I started researching him, and I seen that he lost his last bout to Damian Maya and stuff like that. So it was like, oh, this is a good grappling. My grappling should play a role into it. But of course, I want to keep it on the feet for a little bit and see what happens and see if I can't expose some things. And my takedowns will just help open up my wrestling, or my takedowns will just help open up my striking
Mm.
for sure. So I think it'll play out in my favor for sure Saturday.
And I'm glad you brought that up because it perfectly transitioned to that's what I was going to ask about next because he has had a difficulty with high level grapplers in his career. Like you mentioned, Damian Maya, Ben Askren back in the day, Bellator, Rick Hahn and Bellator as well. So obviously the matchups is really good for you. But is there, as you're scouting him with your coaches, like you mentioned, the striking, are you seeing the areas where like not only can I definitely beat him on the grappling, maybe if I go to striking and I mix these things up, I can give him trouble everywhere.
Right, and that's the thing is like you were saying earlier. Like I feel like I have gotten better in my striking. And last fight, I wasn't able to demonstrate or even get comfortable because it was right off the jump. The guy was coming out throwing heavy head kicks,
Mm.
leg kicks. I mean, it was a fight right off the start. And we knew that about Ismail, that he was going to come out and be explosive. That's just the type of fighter he was, and I knew I could wear him down with my wrestling. And he being a jiu-jitsu guy on top of him and a wrestler guy would be completely different. And as far as Lyman goes, we know that we have that benefit of the wrestling always, and I feel like I can take him down at any time I want. But as a striking, I feel like I am just as good as some of these guys, if not better, So we'll see where it plays out. And of course, I always got the ace in my back pocket, so I can definitely always take it there. But I'd like to stand up with him and see if I can't, have some openings and see if I can't land some shots.
Is it hard to when you are a very skilled grappler and you get there and standing, and like you mentioned, you're just getting better and better as a mixed martial arts. When you go in there and you start striking with them, and let's say you have some success, is it hard to say, let me not forget what I'm really, really good at, and make sure I can use that wrestling? Is it as you continue to grow as a fighter and you get better in all those elements, is it hard to not want to strike and prove you're really good at that too?
I always, I have a real pet peeve with that. Like, I hate when these guys that are good wrestlers,
Yes.
like, I mean,
yes.
Kelvin, Kelvin's a great wrestler. When he fought Adesanya, I was like, man, why didn't he try to wrestle him a little more? Because he can wrestle, and it changes up the whole mind game. So I want to say I'm not going to do that, but like, it's one of those things you get the taste for. You never know. And I want to stick to my game plan, and I want to stick to my strong roots. But obviously, it's not the most exciting at sometimes. So if I can incorporate my striking, I mean, of course, the win is going to be the number one goal. But if I can incorporate my striking, make it a little more exciting, and hopefully get the finish with the ground, or bust him up on our feet and then take him down and finish him that way, that would be incredible. As long as we can get the finish or the win, that's what's most important for sure.
Now, talking about getting a taste of things, because I was curious about the situation you're going to be in this fight, because several hometown guys will be competing on this card. Lyman is one of them. Lyman is from Manhattan. I talked to him recently. He's from Manhattan. It's not far from Madison Square Garden where he lived and grew up. You will definitely be playing the role of outsider bad guy in this bout. Have you had to play such a role in the past before, or is this a new experience you're kind of looking forward to getting to do?
I mean, even my debut, Bala wasn't from necessarily New York, but he's from Chicago. He's from the East Coast. And then they were matching me up for my second fight when I fought Kyle. He was the guys before, Randy Brown and then Dwight Grant, both were from the New York. So I'm not too worried about that. I've always been, I can't say always, but they like me to fight in New York for some reason. I'm not mad at them. Whatever. A fight's a fight. At the end of the day, like, I don't play too much to the hype, like you said, with the betting line and stuff like that. I don't play he's gonna be the hometown guy, the crowd's gonna be on his side. I mean, I fought in New York these past two fights. Sorry, the third one was in Vegas, and none of them are my hometown. So hopefully, after this win, the UFC will get to Oklahoma, and I'll get to do one in my backyard and see what happens.
And speaking of your background, I want to ask about that. I want to talk about, your background, because it's a unique element of American life that isn't talked about enough, at least for me. You grew up in Oklahoma on a Native American reservation. From the stuff I've learned, over time on the various reservations in the country, it can be very difficult. It can be some of the poorest parts of the country. What was your situation like growing up? Was it difficult? Was it a struggle? Was it not so much so?
I wouldn't say it was a struggle, but that was more or less just because growing up with a single mother, not struggle as in being on the reservation. Our tribe's very wealthy, honestly. We have a lot of good programs. We have a lot of good tribal members that are able to help out, or tribal programs, I guess, that are able to help out. I actually did a wrestling camp for the financial assistant program. Nice. I can't remember when it was. It was right after my last fight, into August, I think. But we were able to do that. And so they do help out a lot with, the kids. They helped me, put me through school, through college and stuff like that. They gave me scholarships. So I wouldn't say it's nothing too drastic or nothing like you would think, or like you hear the stories and everything like that. But I can only speak for my reservation and where I come from. I don't know necessarily about some of the other reservations. I've heard stories, I've heard some of the other ones that are kind of, a little bit less well off than we were. And I'm just fortunate enough to grow up and be Osage first off, and grow up on the Osage Nation reservation, because I'm also Cheyenne River Sioux, and that's where my dad's from. My mom's the Osage, and we grew up down there in the South with her in Oklahoma.
You and Nico Montano are the most prominent professional fighters that are of Native American heritage, and being on a major platform like the UFC, on national TV, on pay per view. Have you been contacted in the last year or so by people from a similar kind of backstory? Have you become like a role model, inspiration for Native people around the country?
I have, like, it's starting to pick up, and that's what I hope I can keep winning and I can keep dominating, and that's where I think is the fame will come from. Obviously, she was on the Ultimate Fighter, so she got
Yeah.
that exposure. That was great exposure for her, and then she won the belt, so
Mm-hmm.
that was amazing. She actually got to have the Navajo Nation on her fighter walkout kit, which was, I thought it was amazing. So hopefully one day I'll be able to do that and get my tribe to back me and see what happens. And that's what we're waiting on. Just time in the sport's everything, and hopefully I can keep packing up the wins and keep getting the following, because I have got the following from out here in California and stuff like that. People reaching out to me, proud of me for being Native and representing the Native tribes, and just, that's the thing. I don't want to just represent Osage or Sioux or just
Right.
this certain tribe. I just want to, as a Native American in general, I don't care what tribe you're from, man. It's, we're not dealt the best hand sometime in life, and nobody is in that sense. But at least I can show, there's more to the things than outside the reservation in life. So I'm gonna
And
keep fighting.
and adding to like representation for Native people. And an interesting story in the news last week was about how several states have transitioned away from celebrating Columbus Day on October 14th to instead celebrating Indigenous People Day. What are your thoughts on that? Would you like to use your platform as a well-known UFC athlete to further push for more states to celebrate something like Indigenous People Day over, say, Columbus Day?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, my not my home or my hometown celebrates Osage Day.
Okay.
So we already got it, and then one of the bigger towns, Tulsa, Oklahoma, they actually do it as well. So they have a big parade and big venue and stuff like that. And if I wasn't in camp, I'd try to get back home and go for that. It's just, it's fighting life. It's ups and downs.
Yeah.
I'm fighting right before Halloween, so I don't get that. I get to go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas, so I'm pretty excited. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Depends on the UFC, but it's exciting, and yeah, of course, man. Of course, I love representing being Native and showing kids that you can dream. You can't come from a small reservation, and you can accomplish your dreams if you work hard and put your mind to it, man. And that's what I've always prided myself on. I've never been given anything. I've always worked hard for everything I've gotten, and I'm proud, very, very proud. That's what people ask, what is it like to carry the Osage flag. It's not necessarily like I'm doing this, for my people, or I got my nation on my back. There's all these like punchlines and cheesy things that get me with people.
Yeah.
No, I'm just proud to come where I have came from and show and represent that people can come from small places like I have. Even the small town I came from is amazing. There's small communities around that represent me and are so proud of me, and that's the biggest thing. Is like I love going back home and getting my hand shook and people coming up to me want my autograph and things like that. I think it's still weird, but it's pretty exciting. My friends just laugh at me because they know who I am. I'm just a humble kid from Oklahoma, man. Just a small reservation. That's all I can ask for.